Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. My name is Sunny. I am here with my co-host, Caleb.
Hello.
And some random dude that walked into our studio.
Yo, what's up?
All right, this is Dylan from the Team Dark Arm Dealings. It is so nice to have you back in the studio with us. What's up, my dude?
Oh, not much, man. It's been a minute since I've been on, I guess, right?
Yes, it has been a while.
It kind of feels weird coming on after you have a Pack and John and Hani and Kobe.
Well, you know what? We needed somebody here to fill the space, and you were the only one available.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. But no, Dylan literally happened to be in the area, and we were recording, so we invited him on, and it's always a pleasure to have you on. Dylan has been, for the most part, and to a certain extent, Caleb's mentor since we got back in the game, really. So it's really wonderful to have Dylan on. He's a very, very good player. He doesn't have the name recognition of some other people that you might know, but as far as our area, Dylan is as good as they come, both in and out of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So
we try.
Of course. So today, before we get started, we're going to take just a moment to do all of our usual things that we do. We, of course, want to thank everybody that has been using the TCG Player affiliate link in the description down below. Thank all of our wonderful, wonderful patrons, which are Austin Johnson, Salix, Kane Martin, Damian Zink, Gate Guardian Support, Marshawn Jones, Master of Isa, Mr. Herbies, Witchcrafter Main 22, Zyphorus, Zephyrus, AD, Aaron Gardner, Anthony Lila, Appaloosa is a Floodgate, Brandon, Dank Nugs, Invoked Fart, Kevin Hugh, Mountain Man, Owen Alvarado, Pig, Please Konami, Colossus to 1. Who are you people? Rudolph Sneakalinks, Virtually Savior's World, What Does Pot of Greed Do, Chris Myers, MBT's Hard Leg, Old Man Red, Ray Powell, Slaking It Up, and Sunny Sweet. Okay, some of these are different from the last time we did this. You take 1 week off, and this is what we come back to?
I heard Gate Guardian Support.
Also, yes, that's a good one, though. I respect that.
Listen, not only do I appreciate everyone who's used our, everyone's using our affiliate link, but also I also appreciate like all the support that the Patreon people have been giving me. I also really appreciate the amazing names, particularly you, Invoked Fart. I love that so much.
Please, Konami, Colossus to 1. Who are you people?
Whoo, give me a good belly laugh.
Okay, so speaking of belly laughs, this is a story I did not get to tell. This is a story I didn't get to tell on our last episode. So last episode I was kind of rushed. Essentially, after the 14-hour drive back, I fell asleep and we were late getting our recording started. So I had to end the recording early because I had to make it to my son's t-ball practice.
Yes.
So it really do be like that sometimes. That's on me. I take that L. That's fine. But now I get to tell this amazing story. So we're at the YCS, and Billy Brake is there. He's in full like suit and tie. He's there commentating the YCS on the live stream, and they have this huge curtain set up behind the judges' table, and that's where all like the staff goes, and like when they need a break or
it's the backstage of the actual stage itself. Basically.
Exactly. Well, right at the very end, right after finals, I walk up and I say, hey, I was hoping that I could get Billy to sign this. Is he available? And the lady said, I don't know. He's kind of busy. And then I showed her what I wanted him to sign. It was a very old ARG token of Billy as X-Saber Air Bellum. And she looked at it and she saw it and she said, I'll be right back. And so she takes the token, she takes a Sharpie, she walks back there, and the curtain is not like entirely blacked out. Like I can still kind of see through it. And all of a sudden, I see her walk up to somebody. He looks at her, holds his hand up like he's going to say no, and then he sees what it is. And I see him put his hand on his stomach and give a full leaning back belly laugh, just laughing hysterically. It was the best. And then I see him lean down and start signing it. It was great. It was really, a highlight moment. So of the event for me anyway. Caleb, did you have any like just highlight moments like that of the event? And they just stood out to you.
The only thing that stands out really is the one time I had Nib Valor.
No, that's always a moment to remember.
Especially the way my opponent took it. He literally just very calm and went, "Oh no," and then just kind of slowly put his head in his hands.
Like in like the video of the Digimon player who just like wipes his whole board clear.
Yeah. And then he just kind of like with one hand, like his head still in like one of his hands, just kind of picks up his cards and lays them on top of each other to kind of
pick up the board
to put them in the graveyard.
That's not as bad as Austin. Austin was sitting down round 4 and he was playing against somebody, and keep in mind Austin's playing striker. Well, he wins game 1 and his opponent goes first game 2, goes full Tenyi Sword Soul 5-Rax combo. I mean, the dude went nuts, right? So dude goes nuts. He ends on an end board of literally Baron, Chi Shao, the Draco Berserker, and Herald of the Arclight.
Jesus.
Austin looks down at his hand and goes, "I'm sorry. Dark Ruler no more?" And the guy goes, "Oh man, that is unfortunate." Okay. And Austin goes, "Raigeki?" That dude was sick.
You know what's even funnier than that? Raigeki, negate. Raigeki.
I did that at the last regional. That happened to me.
Yeah, I would say my highlight from the event was
Seeing me on the live stream.
That was pretty fun. Yeah, but me and Cameron got some spinach Alfredo pizza.
Yeah,
We were chilling, bro.
Yeah, it was a great event.
I was hoping you would be like, you weren't at the event. I was just gonna make like a whole thing.
No.
There was one point where like because like they had TVs where you could see like what they were showing like on the actual stream, and I noticed, Austin's like just in frame. And I'm standing right next to him, and I'm not in frame, so I just kind of slowly raise my hand up behind him with 2 fingers.
You just see Austin with the bunny ears.
Yep. Just kind of very slowly peer into frame.
I personally, my other highlight from the event was honestly Dylan buying me a Spellgrounds playmat from 1,000 miles away. It was great.
Heck yeah.
It was a great moment.
Yeah, it felt really good to sell those metas and the breaker for sure. So
yeah,
I appreciate the.
Yeah, well, it was only about $3,000 worth of freaking cards.
Yeah.
CP metas, TP breaker. Oh.
All just given to someone that he barely knows.
I don't know about barely knows.
1,000 miles away.
Oh, you're talking about me giving them to somebody we barely know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's about being vendor.
I made sure like before you walked away, I got the PayPal transfer.
Yeah, for sure.
Wise.
So let's go ahead and get on into the actual meat of today's episode, which is let's do a little bit of meta analysis, and we're gonna have to do something that we don't normally do here and try to discern the future. We're gonna have to try to navigate the stars here. We're gonna have to try to really look forward and see what the game's gonna be like, because in 5 days, 6 days.
We must peer into the Elder Scrolls.
Of 6 days from now, because in 6 days, this entire game gets turned upside down, whether we get a ban list or not.
Let's hope we don't go blind.
A lot of people are not going to get that reference, but the few that will are going to really respect it. No, so for those that don't know, even though we just had YCS Charlotte, and it feels like the meta is more like firm now than it ever has been, in 5 or 6 days we are gonna have the introduction of the Despia structure deck. Why are you laughing over there?
I was laughing at what Caleb was just doing. I saw it in the corner of my eye.
Oh, well, Caleb was always worth laughing at.
Oh no, because I was just sitting there in my head, Dovahkiin, Nalexin dos Farin, just in my head.
Just a little Skyrim music just playing in his head. I wonder if I can find Skyrim lo-fi for our recording.
It exists. I used to listen to it.
Of course you did. Of course you did. All right, well, let's first talk about what the current meta looks like, because I think that right now we can say that we have a really good understanding of the meta as a whole, right? We know what the best decks are for the most part. We know what the good rogue decks to look out for are, and we pretty much know what our siding patterns should be. But the issue is in 6 days, all of that's out the window.
Yep.
Potentially.
We finally have the data, but now we can have to throw it all out.
Pretty much. We have a great sample size, lots of information, lots of tournament reports, and in 6 days, it's all useless.
Yeah, I think the biggest change within like 6 days is probably the fact that super polys like in a majority of decks like for a little bit.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good card.
What if one of the things I did on this ban list was ban Super Poly?
Dude, I'm just playing PK still, dude.
just to troll all the people who like bought all the Despia stuff because they were expecting to be able to super poly everything away.
Caleb, I hate you so much right now.
Why is that?
Do you have any idea how hard I'm working to not sing the Skyrim song?
You're welcome.
And see, when you said that, I heard, you're welcome. Like, I'm hearing the Skyrim tune, but my man. And the people that are like listening at home are not going to have that, because they're going to like, in every little break, they're going to hear that nice little lo-fi beat that we have going in the background, or they're going to have like our intro in their head, like welcome to the top cut, welcome to the top. And we don't have that.
Because all that's added in post.
Right. All we have is each other and the Skyrim theme song. Okay, so let's talk about what the best decks are right now. I think it's pretty clear cut what the best deck in the room is at any given event. And right now, that is Caleb. It's on you.
Prank Kids?
Yes, that is
Brave
absolutely
Prank Kids
correct.
specifically.
Brave Prank Kids, Destiny Hero.
Brave Kids, Hero, Pile,
Souls,
Rose Dragon.
No, not in that deck.
And Knuckles featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
Pretty much, yeah. And some kid with a key for a sword. But I think Prank Kids is the best deck in the room right now. I don't think that's really debatable. The ability to have 1-card starters that are in like every hand, plus the ability to run the entire Brave package and still be able to run like 10 hand traps is just actually cracked.
I would actually like. I'm not gonna disagree with you. I definitely think it's the best deck, right? But like, I feel like there's like a reason, right? And I think the reason is like, if you look at like the decks that play Brave, because like I think the best deck in the room is like the deck that can play Brave the best, right?
Right, that's a fair assessment.
And if you look at the Prank Kids deck, it's like essentially a bunch of 1-card starters. So like the vehicle for the Brave deck is like better with the Prank Kid deck, because the 1 cards get you to the entire deck, and like versus like Fan Lights, you need 2 cards to do the combo, versus like the Pile decks, you need 2 cards to do the combo, versus like Flunder's different. I think Flunder is a meta call. I don't necessarily think it comes into this. It's just good against Brave, and it has good pieces versus the current meta. So it's a good meta call because it can counter those decks. But as a whole, I don't think Prank Kids are doing anything that's stronger than anything else. I think that it's doing something better, which is playing the Brave engine in a way. Like, if you look at Pile deck, they were taking advantage of the Brave engine in like a way that no other deck was doing, and they were using like the token and the Griffin for synchro material, right?
Right.
But if you look at the Prank Kid deck, it's using it to chain block, which is like the original like insane thing about their field spell.
Right.
But when you're able to do that consistently, and you're able to get into cards like Access Code, and then like also still be able to, like, if all things go wrong, make Predaplant, or if all things go right and you have the perfect hand, make Predaplant on top of your board.
Right.
It's like a perfect storm, really. And the ability to play all the hand traps it can. I I think like another thing that kind of came together for this deck at this event was that people were kind of on the mindset, and if you look like some of the really good players like Cody and the guy that won also, they were playing side deck back row removal, like Twin Twister. Twin Twister really hurts Prank Kids in a way like negating Revolt hurt Tri Brigade.
Yeah.
Because if you Twin Twister their Pandemonium
in the standby,
like they have no like insane tempo swing, plus like an interaction. So there's a couple things that went for it. I definitely think it's a really good deck, and I definitely think it's probably the best deck by a pretty substantial margin. I guess I really don't disagree. I don't know. That was a whole opinion on it, I guess.
I also just want to add that in time, they also gain life points and burn.
Which can be very relevant, even with the new extended 45-minute time rules.
Yeah, like, because, like, games will still go into time, even at 45 minutes. In which point, Prank just kind of wins.
Unless they're playing against Tri Brigade, not Tri Brigade. Unless they're playing against Sword Soul, and Sword Soul has the turn.
Burn. It's like, time the round's been called. Okay, cool. Long wand effect, battle phase. Good game.
Yes.
That's all I gotta do.
I enjoy this deck.
Long wand fun.
Long Wand's a hell of a card.
Hey, the whole deck is really good.
But
until a little goblin shows up and just ruins your day.
You know what possibly my favorite revelation to come out of this event was, though?
What's that?
I gotta say, I really, really like the advent of the adventure pile deck being reduced down to like a 40 card deck. Like the Cody Angeloff, Jesse Cotton build, where they labbed it with Asala and stuff. I think that's a very cool deck.
That's actually something I had brought up. It wasn't in the same fashion, but that was something I brought up with Joe and Trevor because they're playing the Eldritch Survivors deck. And like when I would playtest against them and when they play in tournaments and see them play, I just felt like the Eldritch engine wasn't doing the Eldritch engine. It was like, there's one thing it does, and I've realized this like thinking it out and like trying to lab this deck, but I had an idea for a deck that just played the Cybers package, Adventure package, Souls, and Hand Traps. It's essentially the deck they're playing, except it's playing the Rose Dragon stuff instead of the Cybers, right? So like the idea I had was the Cybers package, but then I ran into this issue where it's like, okay, the reason the Eldritch deck is good and the reason that like the Eldritch fits right there is because it gives them a consistent line to kill, which you still have Selene, right? But I feel like maybe, I'm wrong, but like...
I mean, you are, but continue.
Yeah. I feel like there's like probably like kind of awkward to OTK on the crackback on turn 3.
Right, I see what you're saying. But when you really think about it, as long as you have your adventure engine online, and then any number of synchro plays online, realistically you should be winning that game. Even if it gets a little grindy. The deck is capable of being grindy due to the nature of the recurring negate as well as the synchro viability of the deck. But even when you think about it, just token plus Griffin is 4K.
Yeah.
At any given point in time. Plus, when you think about it, what level is Luna? Or Snow?
4.
Okay, so Snow plus your Rose Dragons is 7, which is your Shooting Riser play or your Black Rose play. The ability of the deck to climb, and then you can make a 7, and then the Rose gets you another Rose, and that's a 10. And then you also have the Basil Rose Shoot. I mean, or the Basil Rose Shoot, is that what the spell card is? Yeah, which is a Monster Reborn. So the ability to climb so easily. I mean, just going Rose Dragon with Snow, make a 7, search Basil Rose Shoot to make a 10, or to make another 7.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you can bring back Snow again. You can do that as much as you want.
Right.
Or if you want to do it for your first play and use maybe the Adventure token because it's level 4, then you can do Rose Dragon Adventure token, make Shooting Riser, send Snow. Right?
Right.
It's just, I think that the options that you have with that deck are just innumerable in a fun way. But the biggest question about the deck, in my opinion, is it bad or rad?
I think it's really good, right? I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying
No.
Oh.
Is it Black Rose Adventure DPE, or is it Rose Drag, or is it was it Rose Dragon Adventure DPE or Black Rose Adventure DPE? Is it bad or rad?
I think rad.
I think rad.
I think it's pretty. Yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah, that's why that comment has so many likes on Pack's video.
Oh. No, I don't want you to think I was saying the deck's bad, because it's definitely not. It's a very good deck, and it was a very well made deck for the format.
And the use of cherries was so nice.
I just think that the issue is unless you completely stop your opponent and they don't crack your board at all, you burn through those Rose Dragons, you burn through that stuff, so you can't.
I think that the ability of ending on that many interruptions though is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Usually you can end on 6 interruptions.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, you're usually going to end with, as hard in as you go on combo, you're usually going to end on Griffin Rider plus 2 snow uses plus at least 2 to 3 other interactions from the extra deck. Sometimes you can even end on a Lina and then search Nib.
I feel like the plays that they were talking about was you go Adventure Token, right? Summon a Rose Dragon, get Griffin, summon Griffin, make Baron, Rose, summon, search Basil, make Shooting Riser with the 7 right there, and then you can
use Shooting Riser to send Snow.
Send Snow, but you can't use Snow to turn.
Why?
Because
Shooting Riser.
So then you have the Basil Rose Shoot. So if you have the souls, you can go to a Needle Fiber play maybe.
You want to hear the coolest, neatest interaction in the deck, in my opinion?
What are you talking about, the Celine thing?
No. You can go Snow and use the token.
Oh, you can bash token. Yeah, that makes sense.
I saw you get a look.
Can you?
Yes, you can, because the Banished is not an actual place. It's not a defined zone.
Oh,
so you cannot send a token to graveyard for cost, and you can't send it somewhere else for cost, but you can banish it for cost because it's not a defined zone.
That's so weird.
That is weird.
When you said it at first, I was like, oh yeah, of course. And I was like, wait, it doesn't actually
I
get
saw
banished.
the look on your face wait a minute.
Bro, you can't send
not
to
how that
grave
works.
for cost if...
But banish zone is not a defined zone. It's just not in the game. And because tokens don't exist, they can't be sent to graveyard for cost. But the banish zone's not the graveyard. So you can use the adventure token.
So it works because Konami has literally said nothing about it.
It works because Konami said it works.
Yeah, it's because Konami said so. Why can't you activate Interrupt a Kaiju Slumber if there's a Kaiju on board? Because Konami said so.
Exactly. Why doesn't Reborn Tengu and Sangan get their effects if they get detached from an Exceeds material? Because Konami said so.
Well, because Exceeds materials aren't on the field.
Because Konami said so.
Fair.
Okay, all right. I'll let you have that one. That's fine.
Okay, originally they said it worked, but then they said it didn't.
Well, so there was... I don't know why. I think
okay, there's lore here, and I know what you're going to say.
Here.
Go ahead.
Joe... Because I've been around Joe's boomer brain for a long time. He was playing back in the day competitively, and
I was too. I remember when this happened.
They originally said that Sangan got his effect off of material, right?
Which is why everybody was convinced that Chaos Agents were the best deck in the game.
But the thing was, Sangan has always said when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard.
That's not true. But continue.
I'm pretty sure.
That's not true. Continue.
I might be wrong, but the Turtle Pack one says it.
I'll look it up real quick.
Okay.
Caleb, you're not going to see the original errata text in the TCG database. The very original text of Sangan from the Japanese version of the game, released in the mid 90s, said if this card is sent to the graveyard,
Japanese version,
way back in the day. That's why Exodia was the best deck early. Thank you, Mega Capital G. That's how I know that. And which was the same thing. If it was sent to the graveyard, not from field, if it was sent to the graveyard, period, You're both Googling furiously.
I sure am. Anyway, so while this is loading.
That's so terrible, and neither of you believe me. Original Sangan Japanese text, go.
They didn't have a defined, because XCs were new at the time.
I'm aware, yes.
Yeah, they didn't have a defined thing for XC's material where it actually is, and it eventually got ruled as it's in limbo. It's not on the field. It's not anywhere. It's like the Banner Zone, like you're saying.
Correct.
Right now.
It does not have a defined place.
Yeah, Sangan wouldn't get the effect off of it.
Right. All I'm saying is, it's a very funny little interaction.
I'm looking at the Metal Raiders copy right now.
I did not say the Metal Raiders text. I said if you look at the original text from the TCG, it will not say that. But if you look at the original Japanese text from 5 years before, if it was sent at any point from anywhere to the graveyard, not once per turn, you got the search. It was more broken. And Last Will interacted with that exactly how you think it did. Yeah. That's why Exodia was tier 0 in the OCG for like 6 months. And then they all got errated before they even got to the TCG. Bet you didn't know that, idiot.
No, I didn't know that.
It's okay. Most people don't. Thank you, Mega Capital G. Which, by the way, Mega Capital G, met him at YCS Charlotte. My favorite person to meet. He was so wholesome. Caleb is still Googling furiously.
Yeah, I just found it. It says when this card is sent to the graveyard. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean the Japanese text, right? But like, I don't know. I just feel like this TCG OCG thing, right? But
right.
But yeah,
the point is, I'm right, you're wrong. Get over it.
But yeah, no. GGYGO was correct.
Wait, what?
Not you.
Wait. When did Gary come into this? What happened here?
No. It was Gigi who said that, right?
Who said what?
Who told you about the original text?
Mega Capital G.
Thank you. I get my G's mixed up. You're both G's.
Dang, G.
You're not.
What? What?
There's like a whole 3 words before that G though.
Yeah. Anyway, but yes, and he was correct. The original Japanese text just said when sent to graveyard.
Mega Capital G does like a lot of research on his cards. I would assume that he's correct. So, okay, but we all agree Prankids is the best deck. We all agree that the Rad deck is very, very cool. What I think one of the other biggest revelations for me coming out of this was the use of the use of winter cherries, which is something that makes a lot of sense the more you think about it. But it's interesting that it's really starting to make its way back into the meta, right?
Huh? What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, like winter cherries is probably one of the more underrated hand traps, particularly if you're the kind of crazy person to, I don't know, run 2 Predaplants.
Dylan is actually crazy.
Because, you know, then you can winter cherry one of your opponent's Predaplants away, then they have to hard draw their one Predaplant, and then they have to hard draw into Fusion Destiny, or even funnier.
Wait, why would you touch it?
So that way you can winter cherry your opponent's 1 Predaplant.
You don't lose yours. You just reveal it.
Oh, I thought you lost it.
I thought both players lost all copies. Oh, that's so much more broken.
Oh, never mind.
More broken, dude.
Never mind. So, sees how much I've read the effect on Winter Cherry now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I remember when that card came out and Burning Abyss was like insane, but unfortunately, at the time it wasn't impactful enough to play. Like, you would think hitting Dante would be really good, but like it was because of the fact that after they made the first Dante, they really didn't need to make the second one. Like drawing it late game didn't matter.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But right now, the ability to hit your opponent's DPE, which most only, the ability to hit your opponent's DPE, the ability to hit the Doodle Doo or the Meow Meow, depending on who you are and what you're playing and how you're playing it. I think Doodle is actually the better hit there, but that's just me.
But then also, like, being able to just hit, like, in the mirror, like, let's say you're playing Sword Soul against your opponent's Sword Soul, you can, like, get rid of their Chi-Zhao.
Right. Or you can get rid of Baron.
Yeah, or get rid of their Baron, which...
Although, I gotta be honest, I think that my pick there is probably gonna be Monk of the Tenyi.
Fair enough. Or
Hauki 5 racks.
Yeah, or like even with my own personal experience with PKs, I could just, in a PK mirror match, I could just go reveal Rusty, you lose your Rusty.
Yeah.
Good luck. Granted, there's still lots of things they can do without Rusty Bardiche, but they lose easily. What do you think? Like 2/3 of their combo lines without Rusty?
I don't know about 2/3, but they do lose a good bit.
They lose a lot of steam there. But yeah, like being able to just, hit a big main extra deck engine, hit like DP, hitting one of their combo pieces, hitting Halka Fibrax.
Yeah.
Just as an example, is ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the another thing is like, so DPE itself is such a hard card to get rid of, and like Cherry's like getting rid of the issue, being like a 3 of like that you can use to generically stop it from happening, and getting onto the board and sticking and just floating between the graveyard and the field is really good. But I think that's like the main thing with Cherries though, is like hitting DPE, because like unless you're playing Thunder, you're not going to have that much room to play like other targets, to be honest with you. Like you could maybe fit like 2 or 3 and then like already have the targets for the mirror match in your deck. But besides that, like,
well, I think like a good example is the luxury Sword Soul player that topped with siding 1 DPE, 1 Doodle Doo.
Right.
And with 3 cherries. He wasn't siding any back row hate, but I mean, that's pretty good too,
Yeah, I think like if I were to side cherries, like that's what I'd do.
Cut the back row hate and then side like a DPE and a...
Well, no, I probably wouldn't cut the back row hate. But like if you're using that as your card that to stop a deck, you side it against a deck that it stops. Like hitting the DP hurts, obviously hitting the Doodle Doo for prank it hurts too.
Right.
But like at that point, do you really need to sign anything else? You know what I mean? Like you just right.
I mean, yeah, that just makes a whole lot of sense, particularly against a deck like that, to where it's better to just kind of stop them than as opposed to just kind of let them go full board and then attempting to stop their back row. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like just stop them from even getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that's enough on us gushing on winter cherries out of nowhere.
Yeah, the other decks that really surprised me, it was actually pretty surprising to me that Sword Soul Tenyi had like, I want to say it was 4. Was it 4 in Top Cut? 5? 5. It was 5 in Top Cut, and then 4 Fluanderees and 5 Eldritch.
So I think the Eldritch, like I said before, like people are cutting like back row move out of their side decks because of the whole back row decks are bad stigma because of the Brave token engine and stuff, which it is true. Like Dracoback is really good at bouncing floodgates.
Yeah.
But like when you have something like that where you have this idea that the player base is on, and people will come in and counter that idea with like this. So like I know you're not playing this. This is gonna bubble up now. This is gonna come up. Personally, like Twin Twister's never left my side deck. Neither has Red Reboot, because of the fact that like I feel like Twin Twister is such a good card into Prank Kids and into Flunder that it's really hard for me to cut. Because you can hit the map and the Dreaming Town, and then against Prank Kids they can't.
Or potentially the Quick Spell.
Yeah, against Prank Kids they can't like play around it. Like they might set 2 to play around Cosmic, but they're not gonna be able to play around the Twin Twister.
Right.
So like that was my whole thing with that. And Red Reboot's just such a good card against like back row decks, and having one of it in the side deck is not hindering me at all, I'd rather not use it all day and still have it there because it's such a good card.
I would argue though, as far as the Twin Twisters goes, that when you play Twin Twister into the Prank Kids board, that they usually have the Griffin Rider negate to deal with that. And then even so, you say...
just have the Ghost Ogre.
Well, yeah. And then you say, well, okay, but they have the Griffin Rider negate. But, right? I think that's a fair assessment. But when you think about it, they still have double Raigeki once you've eaten through the Griffin Rider, right?
Yeah.
So it's still pretty crusty, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for for the past actually since I started playing PK, I've been citing Cosmic Cyclone and Red Reboot because I don't like Eldritch.
right.
I don't like Set 5 Pass. When it happens to me, I don't like Set 5 Pass. Let me re-quantify that. I love Set 5 Pass, but not when it happens to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I love.
I will say though, I cheered the heck out of it at the event.
Yeah, that was.
I could not believe when I heard the crowd going wild because he said
We were all sitting there in game one going, oh, he's playing Eldritch? And then they were like, oh, it's Cyber's Eldritch, right? And then you heard the murmurs when people went, no, it's Monkey Eldritch. And then when he sets 5 and passes at the start of game 2, you hear the whole crowd erupt into thunderous cheering. And then at the very end, after all the cheering dies down, if you go back and watch the VOD, you can hear one guy go, it's a work of art. You can hear him say that.
It's hilarious. Oh man, it was such a wonderful experience getting to be a part of that. That was wild. You know what I mean? Oh my god.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a great moment.
Yeah.
So I think though that seeing Flunder there is an interesting one to see.
Dude, Shifter is a heck of a card.
Yeah, but I think the ability to use like I said, the Winter Cherries package is super impactful, and Flunder really uniquely plays into board states with things like the barrier statue, Ryza. Just being able to play on your opponent's turn is such a big deal.
But also, just straight up not caring about what's in their extra deck.
Right.
You know, so they can just flood their extra deck with just random stuff that they think they might see.
Right.
You know, DPs. They could like throw in Chi-Zhaos, Barons, Halka-Fibrax, Selene, Verte, stuff they just don't want to deal with. You know what I mean?
Right. For
just
sure.
Stuff that extra deck with stuff like that, and get rid of it.
Definitely.
So your extra deck almost becomes a pseudo hand trap at that point.
Yeah, it really does.
On top of being fuel for Pot of Prosperity and Pot of Extravagance.
Right. Also, something else that I think is worth mentioning is there was a couple of appearances by some really rogue decks like Striker. Striker is a deck that I really thought would be a lot more impactful with Engage and now the Adventure Engine. But truly, am I crazy for thinking that Engage could go to 2?
Yes. I'm gonna have to agree, yes.
I think Engage to 2 would not be the craziest or worst thing that ever happened. Honestly, it's a 2 in Master Duel, and it's not that big a deal.
No, it is extremely a big deal, especially with like 3 Kagari. No. You definitely don't want Engage to 2. The fact that like Engage to 2 means like I could essentially like engage on my turn, right? And then like get it back with Kagari, and then end phase Shizuku for a second one, right?
Right.
And like so it just makes the crackback, like the follow-up turn, so much more impactful and like hard to just win through. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
Like having them just have 2 engage on top of like already like stopping your plays, or you know, with hand traps or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, I definitely don't think Engage should come back to 2. That might sound crazy to some people. I just the beauty of like engaging and then drawing into Engage should never happen again. It should never happen again.
That is the sort of gluttony that no mortal should ever experience.
I mean, that's fair.
Like, seriously, that's awful. Especially, what is Engage not once per turn?
No,
it is not. That's even more disgusting then. Wow, what on earth? But yeah. I mean, like, as far as Striker itself, though, because like it can very easily run the adventure package. It's also unique in that they don't need a Dagda to Scythe Lock, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, they do.
No,
it's Drytron.
Okay, yeah, no. There's like Drytron and another deck that just kind of don't need Dagda to Scythe Lock, and I don't remember what the other one is. Doesn't matter. Drytron also not needing Dagda to Scythe Lock you is
funny.
Very
funny is the word.
Oh, very. It's kind of like how in PK I don't need my DPE to pop the Scythe.
Right.
You know, if I activate DPE and then my opponent chains Imperm or Veiler, which happened this past weekend, I could just go, okay, cool, Fogblade targeting Breaksword, especially on Breaksword in the zone in a zone that Rusty points to affect Rusty, pop the Scythe. Boom, got my Scythe Lock anyway.
Yeah. All right, let's take just a moment before we go any farther to thank our sponsor, ETB Games in Alexandria, Louisiana. ETB is your one-stop shop for all of your card game needs. They have, of course, everything that you need for Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and all of that. So, be sure to stop by ETB Games if you need any deck boxes, sleeves, playmats, binders, or anything of the sort. And also, if you need anything for your tabletop gaming needs, be sure to check them out.
They sell clickety-clack dice. Lots of them.
I wish you hadn't said that like that.
For all of you dice goblins out there like myself. I apologize for anyone whose ears I blew out with that, but I've always wanted to just go full dice goblin right there. Anyway. But yes, do check them out. Super cool place with super cool people. We're there.
Absolutely.
We're there sometimes.
Absolutely. Anytime we can be.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan, you're an ETB sponsored player. Do you have a date for us for the April Battle City Monthly?
It's probably anticlimactic. He doesn't have a prizing made for it yet, and I'm not really sure if he's wanting to do it because he doesn't want to do it for nothing. He likes to go with like. There's always these case tournaments going on in Shreveport,
and now they have regionals.
And with Nick being kind of like or ETB being like a new shop or whatever, his vendor, he can't really get as like allocate as much product as he'd like. So it's really hard to like say like a case for a tournament and stuff like that. He likes to usually go for like expensive like high-end collector cards,
right?
For prizing, and he doesn't have any right now, so we don't really know what we're doing with it or not. But if it does happen, I'm sure I'll let Caleb and Sonny know so they can announce on the podcast. It's supposed to be on the 30th, but more to come on that. Obviously, follow the ETB page, follow their
you
the
can
website,
find them on
Facebook,
and the website. The link is in the description down below.
But we just don't know exactly yet. There is another case tournament happening in Mendenhall for Ghost of the Past 2 on the 30th, and I believe that's the only available day. So if they do end up having one, we'll not go to that. We'll be over there, and it'll definitely fire. But that's if Nick finds a prize for it before then.
Right. So, with all of that said, be sure to check out ETB Games, and let's get back into the main core. So, I want to take just a moment. We've got about 15 or 20 minutes left. I want to talk about the ban list. So, right now we have.
Let's talk about the giant invisible elephant in the room.
Yeah, for sure. So, I want to talk a little bit about the ban list. The ban list right now is kind of in an interesting spot. And...
Well, I mean, so like one of the biggest issues right now with the ban list is because of the backlash. That's the word. Because of the backlash they got for the last ban list, because the date on the website said no earlier than this date, and it was like 4 or 5 days after, or like a week after that before I got the ban list. They got a lot of backlash for that. Now, the date did say no earlier, meaning it could be later. That was like the earliest possible date, and people took that as that is the day. So now they've just said at some point in the month of April. So we should be getting that any minute now. I say as I look at my non-existing watch on my arm that no one else can see because we're full audio right now with no video.
Non-existent watch that nobody can see.
Well, who knows? I might actually have a watch and just no one can see it. I'm lying to you all. I don't know why I would lie about having a watch. Anywho's a whatsums. So, I mean, as far
Anywho's a whatsums. Let's go. All right, what do we think are the problem cards right now? Like, realistically.
Okay, so Scythe itself. Let's start with Scythe. Let's go in reverse alphabetical order. Not really. Let's start with Scythe. So Scythe is kind of a problem. Not as big as a problem as I was expecting it to be, personally. How about y'all? Were y'all expecting to be a bigger problem?
I think that as the format grows and the adventure engine gets stronger and stronger, people are realizing that they can put out a negate without Scythe. And so Scythe is maybe falling out of the prominence that it once had. I don't get me wrong. It's still a great combo, and you're going to see it at every single tournament you go to. But it's not the end-all, be-all meta problem that people thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse, probably. But hey, negates, bro.
I think Scythe kind of fell out of favor because they were playing all the hand traps. And the specific deck that really it shines in, which is the PK deck. People just being able to go. People being able to go Valor Nib essentially for like wandering and like on just have them end on, which again, the reason why I started playing the Phantom deck is because like even through Valor Nib, you still end on like 2 interactions possibly with the Fog Blades,
right?
Which is really good versus other decks just not ending on anything. And then
also with PK, even if after you get nibbed, if they nib you in the wrong spot, you can just still climb into Verte and make DP.
Yeah, the thing is, like, most people nib you when you make Verte, though. So you have to be playing the second Verte. But, like, also, like, so people were playing the decks that aren't PK. And I think the issues really are, I think Dagda being an extra deck monster, making Scythe available at any point that you can put 2 monsters on the board, making it consistent essentially is the issue. And I also think another issue with the format is Celestial. I don't think people look at Celestial a lot. I think people like let it like roll over their head, but like I think the thing is like they create this huge board, and if it was just DPE coming back as like a Scrap Dragon, right, it's not that crazy. But the fact that they get a new hand essentially with Celestial, because they draw 1 for turn, then they get 2 more for Celestial, is insane. And
yeah, I really think that Celestials. I at the turn. Okay, before I went to YCS and before these 2 regionals, I was like, people that say Celestials the problem are nuts. There's no Celestial is an issue. It's like Destiny Hero Disc Commander, but like slightly worse, but still really good.
Listen, but before these events, I had an inkling that Celestial's an issue because there have been games that I should absolutely not have won, but because Celestial activates to give me those extra 2 cards, plus the possible Dasher special summoning a monster for free, was just ridiculous. Particularly if I top decked into like a Nibiru, effective Dasher, especially the Nibiru, 3 free K beat stick, effect draw 2 on top of that. It's excessive.
It's a lot.
Because, the free pot of greed. Ugh.
Yeah, I think the crackback of Celestial being able to draw 2 is insane, and it should not. It's the issue, in my opinion. I think DP is a really good card.
It's the issue with the engine.
Yeah, it's definitely a bannable card itself, but I think Celestial is way better.
Yes. See, it's like Tatsum said at some point. It's not that you can. How do I say this? Like the Dragoon engine, you had an S tier boss with D tier bricks, and with the DPE engine, you have an A tier boss with A tier bricks, right?
Right.
So it just makes the entire engine so much stronger.
I actually think DP is better than Dragoon.
This is a whole debate for another day.
That's another one of those Appaloosa's is not a floodgate debates.
By the way, everybody, in case you're wondering, this man right here is the origin of that debate.
I personally believe Appaloosa acts like a floodgate.
We are not doing this right now. We're not doing it. We have 10 minutes. We have 9 minutes left. We are not debating Appaloosa.
That's fine. I'm just making a statement, bro.
I'm just saying that you're wrong.
I mean, you can have your opinion, and that's fine. Like,
I'm just going to say Appaloosa is not a continuous effect, therefore not a floodgate.
I want an episode, actually, where I get to explain my whole theory behind, like, the card game and why it leads up to why Appaloosa is a floodgate.
I don't have an entire episode to explain why you're wrong.
Okay,
I'm not dedicating an hour to your.
Look, I have very thought out, solid theory on this.
I'm not dedicating an hour to you being bass backwards.
Oh yeah,
I'm not doing it.
It's as my dad would say, I ain't got the time or enough crayons to explain it to you.
Yeah, I don't have enough crayons to feed you, my friend.
Oh, wow. So, like, look, all jokes aside, I'm not trying to convince you, obviously. So, like, it's just, at this point, I feel like it's like a meme between us, right? Like, in the thing. So, obviously, you got a Patreon up, Lucy's Floodgate. Hey, shout out to that guy.
I know who you are. Patreon has your address. I know who you are. I'm going on a hunt later.
That is obviously a joke, not serious.
Yeah, obviously. What is a joke is you making me read that every episode.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Every time I hear Sonny read that. Every time. Thank you.
I just want you to know, I was reading off the patron names. I couldn't look at him when I said that. I could not look at him. Anyway, let's get back to the ban list. So if we're making ban list predictions, I would like everybody to go through and give just a really quick, without putting too much thought into it, a quick, like, what you think needs to be addressed on the ban list. We can start with you, Dylan.
Okay. I think Celestial, Dagda. I think I'm tired, dude. I hate prank kids. Doodle-doo is going to 1. Bye-bye.
I'm fine with that. I think, honestly, I think it's tough but fair.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to do anything to the Brave Engine. I think it's fine. I actually think the Brave Engine's pretty okay. I think every deck can play it pretty much in the format, so it's not like unfair or anything.
As someone who does not own the Brave Engine, I disagree. Continue.
All right. Well, you get to burn people for like 36 within the first 2 turns, so I don't want to hear it.
By the end of their turn, I have definitely burned for 36. I remember we were at a 3v3 tournament. I looked to the side to Austin. I said, "Hey, Austin, I'm about to burn this man for almost half his life points." And he looked at me. He said, "Do what?" And sure enough, like by the middle of his main phase 1, he was at 4,400 life. It was great.
Yeah, I think it's those 2 cards. I think Dagda and Scythe, or not Dagda and Scythe, Dagda and Celestial. I think Predaplant is an issue for another day, but besides that, I think you're going to see things happen on the semi-limits, and that's probably about it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Scythe is more the problem card than Dagda. But I understand why you say that it'll be Dagda, because Scythe is getting reprinted in the Despia structure deck.
Yeah, and like so Scythe fills a specific role for like control decks sometimes when the format's too fast. Because Sanctum's a fair card in my opinion. When you summon Scythe, it's when you put Scythe in the combo deck and it's consistent. That's when it becomes unfair. Because they had the crackback of a control deck is way less than a crackback of a combo deck that just makes access code super consistently.
Something else that I would like to bring this to each of your attentions. What about Pot of Prosperity? Is that a limitable card? Think about how. Okay.
No.
Okay. Let me explain why. Right. This is a reasonable take, I think. And
Explain yourself.
This actually comes from, believe it or not, an MBT stream that I saw earlier today. So they were watching deck profiles from a lot of the top 32 lists, and it was clear that Prosperity was in a ton of those lists. Why is that? It's because in a time when you have so many different engines meshed into these decks, it increases the consistency of seeing each individual engine, because you basically need to see multiple engines to get things online. Even if you go 3 deep, realistically in a deck where you have that many engines and you have that much consistency, going 3 deep and seeing another engine is so powerful. And I understand that you can't draw cards, but that's fine.
I feel like you're explaining the reason that they printed the card, though, right? Like, I mean, like they printed it to make.
No. They printed it for decks like Dino and Flunder, and Eldritch. But for a combo deck to be able to think about it, the Cody Angeloff deck, they said that Prosperity was like one of the best cards in the deck.
Yeah,
why?
It's a very good card
because it lets you see all of your engines more consistently.
I think
it makes the pile deck stronger.
I think it itself was made specifically for combo, actually, like because of the fact that it doesn't restrict you like Pot of Duality. It doesn't restrict you from special summoning. It only restricts you from drawing
and half damage.
Again, half damage for combo, because combo can just outright kill you. Like, I think the card was very tailor-made for. I think the reason that Pot of Desires went to 1 was because it was too generic. Like, in all honesty, like the card, all it required you was to not play one of that you couldn't have banished.
Right.
Like, it was just too generically, and also being a +1, which Prosperity is not a +1, and technical card advantage.
Right.
Now you could like go into where I like reside and have like theoretical card advantage because you know what card you're getting, so it's better. But let's just not go there because that involves But no. No, I think being a +1, being more generic, not caring about anything at all. You can still draw after you activate Pot of Desires. You still have full damage after you activate Pot of Desires. It just requiring you to maybe not play that very specific one of that you absolutely need for a combo. Like, even in the 10-Yi deck with 1 Despot, they're still playing Desires.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that Prosperity increasing the absolute consistency of these decks is a problem. And if they're willing to limit Desires for that problem, then they should be willing to really take a hard look at Prosperity for that same problem.
I just don't agree with it. Like, I think Desires was a hard cast for me also. Like, I don't think they should have limited Desires. I get why they did it. Maybe.
I think Prosperity is way bigger of a problem than Desires was, honestly.
I don't know. I guess that's just a
personal preference thing.
Yeah, I think there should just be like cards like that in the format that decks could play, and I think Prosperity does a lot of negative that makes it.
Also, it helps Flunder way too much, and Flunder can go die in a hole.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, if you're talking about Flunder, just bye D-Shifter, dude. Like, for real. Like,
dude, I would honestly be fine with that.
Let me troll you.
Dude, D-Shifter can go, honestly. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Lancia, Droll, and D-Shifter could all just go, and I'd be happy. I think that being able to activate turn-long floodgates, like, I'm fine with something like Ash, with Ghost Ogre, because they require thought process. I don't think those cards require thought process.
I think the thing is, you gotta realize, like, also, like, usually if you're playing, like, a deck that those hurt, like, you're probably playing something unfair. Like, really unfair. Like, just to, like, it's like the same reason people are like, oh, well, you know, I don't like the PK deck because, you know, it has, like, all these bricks. But it's like, the reason that it has all these bricks is it has to. Like, the reason that the Fusion Destiny engine has all these bricks that you can draw that you don't want to draw is because the engine's so powerful. Like, of course, like, you got to have, like, a negative side to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to play these cards that are just not good.
Right.
But no, I think, like, Lancia, Droll, those cards come in when decks are unfair and they're doing crazy things, and you might not feel like it, but Sword Soul, Tenyi's unfair.
Here's my thing.
Because any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh that has to be tier 1 or is tier 1 is unfair in some way.
I think that all of the combo enablers could get limited and banned just as easily as all of the floodgates getting limited and banned, and I would be happy if both happened.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I kind of agree. I kind of agree with Dylan on this, where, you know, Dagda, drawing a blank. What else? But yeah, I pretty much agree with that. But I disagree with Sonny's whole prosperity thing personally.
I hate you both.
However, you do make very valid points on it.
I think so too.
A very valid
I think
points.
prosperity is actually a problem. When it's used to that kind of a degree, it's a really strong card.
My biggest issue with the argument, though, is I haven't even had a chance to get them because I haven't reprinted it yet.
Honestly.
But in all seriousness, it is a very powerful card, but it's definitely one of those things.
Right.
Yeah. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to, like, properly arrange my words here. I say that English is my first language. But, like, I also agree that Scythe is a problem, but I kind of think Dagda is a little bit bigger of a problem, just because it's so generic. It's easily, you know, fetch out the extra deck, and then even if you're not running Scythe, you can still set a Lancia, and then Lancia lock your opponent for free.
Yeah.
Which I have actually done in PK, was make Dagda, Scythe lock, pass, and then as soon as they activate something, or like whenever I activate my like, let's activate my DP, or I'll like DP chain Dagda set Lancia, DP pop both Scythe and Lancia to Scythe and Lancia lock them.
Right.
Which you can entirely do, and it's disgusting that you can do that.
I think that the game is in a really interesting spot. I think that the format is actually pretty fun. But there's a couple of things that I would like to see happen. I would like to see the usual stuff that I just said. I would like to see Scythe gone. I would like to see Verte gone. I'm actually kind of fine with Hulk Auroradon, and I promise it's not just because I'm playing it in my deck. I also think that Prosperity should probably get limited, and I mean, if I'm really trying to fix the format, I probably also limit Magician's Souls, Rite of Aramesir, and Water Enchantress, but I don't think they'll do any of that. First of all, I don't think Magician's Souls is ubiquitous enough of a card to actually warrant the limit. I don't think it's in literally every list, although it is in a lot of lists.
Vast majority of them.
Right. And as good as I think the adventure package is, it's still entirely too new, although it is bordering tier 0 potential, so they could say that it gets a limit just based off of the actual tournament level results, because when you really look at it, adventure is winning 50% of current regionals, and they just won a YCS, and it's it's Prank Kids, but like, it's adventure, right?
Yeah. Adventure is part of it.
Adventure is in over 70% of regional topping deck lists right now, which is crazy.
At what point is that is a deck considered tier 0? Is it 60?
65.
65.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as an engine, it's tier 0.
Right.
but not a deck in and of itself, which is interesting.
It is an interesting thing, but when you really look at it, that kind of happened. That kind of was the same thing with Zodiac, right? Zodiac was in and of itself a strong engine, sure, but was it an actual? I mean, sure, it was a deck. Yes, obviously it was a deck, but it was really used as an engine in a lot of different decks. You had Kaizu, you had all kinds of things.
Yeah, but at the same time, it wasn't a how many cards is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 card engine. You could run it pure in its own deck, and it's
you could.
You can't do that with Brave. It is exclusively an engine, nothing more. Which is interesting because then that brings up the power of decks versus the power of individual engines.
Right.
Like, can an engine itself be tier 0? You know, that kind of thing. Which is a whole hour-long conversation in and of itself, really.
Yeah, I think that the DPE engine needs to be addressed. The Scythe Lock needs to be addressed. I honestly think that the floodgates in the Eldritch deck need to be addressed.
Also, Adventure needs to be
floodgate person.
Yeah, but also like the Adventure engine also needs to be addressed, but they're not going to do that because it's way too new.
Right.
I don't think they're going to touch Scythe again because it got reprinted in the structure deck just recently. They might do something about Dagda, and that's a big might with like asterisks.
Yes.
Like Discord asterisk where it italicizes it might do something. Hulk, they probably need to do something about Hulk. Something, but I don't think they're going to.
I mean, at that point, do you hit Hulk or do you hit a Auroradon?
Because like the decks that are running Hulk, about 80 to 90% of them are also doing it for Auroradon Despot stuff. There are a couple of decks that are running Hulk and not, and that's primarily Striker with Selene, because then they can tutor out Effect Veiler. God, I couldn't remember the word. Effect Veiler to make Selene to go into access code. They use it as a way to build up into access.
Would
code.
you say that they use that as a way to access code?
It's a way. It's a way they access the code of access code. Talker.
Yo, dog. I heard you like access.
Man, listen. I've been playing a whole lot of Digimon's Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory. So,
whew. All right. Listen, that'll do it for today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to our ramblings. And be sure to check out our Patreon and TCG Flair affiliate links in the description down below. Be sure to check out ETB Game. Be sure to check out, of course, the homies, Team Dark Arm Dealings.
Yeah.
You can find them doing tournament coverage, and their link to their YouTube is in our description down below. And with...
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd like to shout out my boy Cam. First regional ever. Got top 16.
That's what's up. He did better than I did. Heck yeah. Alrighty. And with that said, thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the podcast. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back on Tuesday.
Take care, everyone.